We now go to the speaking order. We'll start off with the Conservative Party. Thank you. Mr. Scheer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and welcome, Minister. I don't know what the weather is like in Ottawa, but I hope you're doing well. I'm glad that you referenced the Canadian Infrastructure Bank, because I had a few questions on that. You used the term hitting its stride. Many people would call the Canadian Infrastructure Bank stumbling out of the gates. It's been around for almost 4 years now, and it's been allocated $35 billion. I'm wondering if you can tell us what the operating expense is, what the operating costs are for the Canadian Infrastructure Bank on a yearly basis.
I would like to welcome the member for Regina-Qu'Appelle. It's great to see him as the new critic for infrastructures and communities. The weather here, it's not amazing, but it's not terrible. We announced our net zero plan legislation today, so that was good. I was outside. I certainly think it's the importance that your party puts on infrastructure that you're in this position. And in terms of the Canada Infrastructure Bank, I mean, I think it plays an extremely important role. I would hope that the Conservative Party would agree with that, because we need more infrastructure built, and we need to bring in the private sector to do that. I am happy to get back to him. The Canada Infrastructure Bank is an independent organization, and we're happy to follow up with the answer to his question.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much, Minister. And this is our first time to participate in a parliamentary format like this. So I appreciate you acknowledging that. And you talked about the need for more infrastructure, and that's where I'm kind of puzzled why you're using the Canadian Infrastructure Bank as an example of getting more infrastructure. So perhaps you could tell this committee something that the Prime Minister did not want to do, which is to answer a very simple question, and that is, how many projects has the Infrastructure Bank completed in its almost 4 years of existence and $35 billion allocation of taxpayers' money? How many projects have been completed?
Minister.
Well, I'd like to thank the member for the question. As I say, the Canada Infrastructure Bank is now hitting its stride. It is moving forward in a whole range of projects. Probably the best one, and I'm happy to accompany the member opposite when circumstances allow, to view the REM. The REM project in Montreal, extremely popular project. It's creating thousands of jobs. It's also going to help grow the economy there. I also would point to an announcement that was just made with the government of Alberta, a new MOU with a Conservative government who recognizes the importance of the bank and bringing in the private sector. This is something that actually I'm sure the member opposite would appreciate, because it's also very important to his province. Modernizing irrigation district infrastructure and increasing water storage capacity. This is going to result in an $850 million in investment, creating 6,800 direct and indirect permanent jobs.
Mr. Scheer.
Okay, so you've referenced two projects, one that you've signed a memorandum of understanding, but the question was, you've had almost 4 years with this institution. This was announced with great fanfare. This was going to be your government's signature vehicle to do infrastructure differently, and it was supposed to lead to dozens and dozens of private sector funds investing in these types of projects. So here we are, almost 4 years out, $35 billion, millions of dollars worth of operating costs. You must have completed something. Can you just tell this committee how many projects have been finished? How many projects have been completed? Not memorandums of understanding, not work underway, but how many projects have actually been completed?
Minister.
As the member opposite would know, it actually takes some time. I know everyone at REM project is working extremely hard. They would love to see it completed, but it doesn't work like that. Some of the other engagements, the Contre-Cœur Port in Montreal, District Energy in Richmond, BC, hydroelectricity in the Northwest Territories. But maybe I just go to the Conservative Party's platform, because I'm trying to understand, we do want to get more infrastructure built. That's why we're investing, for example, 13 times the amount of the Conservative Party in infrastructure. And when you were part of the party where wanted to kill $18 billion from the infrastructure budget, I'm just wondering if that is still your party's position, and what projects in your riding would you want to kill? Because we have the town of Ituna Water District and Supply, new water and wastewater, lagoon expansion and new lift station, drinking water treatment systems. I would say that those are very important infrastructure investments. So it's not just the bank; it's what our government is doing, working
No,
with provinces and
Minister, with all,
territories and
with all
municipalities.
due respect, Minister, with all due respect, you referenced the infrastructure bank. I'm just trying to get an understanding after allocating a $35 billion. I'm assuming the answer is zero. I don't know why, if the answer is zero, you can't just say zero. And as you know, our P3 model and our infrastructure programs during our previous Conservative government got the job done. We built massive projects all across the country, and it was our commitment in the campaign to actually get things done. We've heard from stakeholders across the country that are saying dollars aren't flowing. We've heard from ministers in provincial government saying that there are projects submitted and waiting for federal approval. We could be getting more projects built, but there's a massive problem within the department actually getting those projects out the door. So I want to go back to the announcement that was made with the Canadian Infrastructure Bank. Mr. Sabia said during that press conference that hope isn't a plan, and that the plan that you and Mr. Sabia and the Prime Minister announced was the result of a serious analysis of current and potential projects. In short, this plan is real. Minister, have you seen the plan?
Minister?
Yeah, actually, the plan's public. I'm happy to share the growth plan. It's a $10 billion 3-year plan that the Canada Infrastructure Bank has announced. And I think it's really important. I totally agree with the member opposite about how important it is to get projects approved. We're in an economic crisis as well as a health crisis. In fact, I've got to give my department kudos because since the pandemic started, we've approved more than 700 projects worth over $1.3 billion. But I would come back to the fact that just take infrastructure and public investments in public transit. We've invested 13 times what the previous government did. And that's actually creating jobs across the country. I'm happy to share the information with the member opposite.
Thank you, Mr. And thank you, Mr. Scheer.